I'm not sure if it's a person or I'm not sure what it is, but I've got movement east of my location in the woods. Sounds like it's heading this way. Hey, up T.
December 23rd, 2022, Lake Jackson Forest, Louisiana. Officer Azo is standing alone in the middle of the woods, staring at the dead body wrapped in a tarp. And then he hears it. Movement, rustling. Something or someone is out there in the trees. The officer's hand moves to his weapon because whoever tortured and killed the man at his feet might still be nearby, watching, waiting. And the guy who led him out here, he touched the murder weapon. He moved evidence. He could be lying about everything. Backup arrives just in time. But what they are about to uncover in these woods will reveal one of the most disturbing killers Louisiana has ever seen. A man who thought he was a god, who offered help with one hand and held machete in the other, who tortured a homeless man for hours before finally ending his life. And when police arrested him, he genuinely believed he was the victim. Let's back up a few hours. A frantic 911 call calls in. A man named Jamie reports finding his friend's body near the homeless camps. Officers arrive and meet Jamie and his friend Robert. Both are shaken. Both want to show police where the body is. Officer Azo makes a decision. He will follow Robert into the woods alone. Not the smartest move, considering there is a killer somewhere nearby. But time is critical. As they walk deeper into the forest, Robert explains what they found. Great, so now they have got contaminated evidence as a guy who conveniently just found a murder victim. But when they reach the scene, it's clear Robert was telling the truth. Wrapped inside a tarp, lying face down in a pool of blood, is the body of James Leaden Decker. He's completely naked, covered in cuts and bruises, and there is something else, a smell, gasoline. Officer Azo immediately calls for backup and tells Robert to head back. Then he starts hearing those noises in the woods. When backup finally arrives, they begin processing the scene, and what they find is horrifying. James has severe blunt force trauma to his head. His face is destroyed, broken nose, shattered teeth, bleeding eyes. There's a broken hyoid bone in his neck, indicating strangulation. But here is the really disturbing part. Gasoline was found in his lungs and stomach, meaning he inhaled and swallowed it while he was still alive. This wasn't just a murder, this was torture, hours of torture, and scattered around the campsite, they find James's clothes, a bloody knife, and evidence that someone had been preparing to burn the body. The killer ran out of time. When detectives interview Jamie and the other witnesses, one name keeps coming up, Dusty McDonald. According to everyone at the homeless camps, Dusty was trouble. He lived in a house near the camps, property owned by his grandfather, and he had a strange relationship with the homeless community. On the surface, he seemed generous. He had let people use his shower, do their laundry, charge a couple bucks as gesture. But underneath, Dusty was a bully, a manipulator, someone who used his position to control people. And earlier that same day, Dusty had gone after another man named Rick with a machete, slashing his tent and threatening him. Rick called the police. Officers responded, took a report, and told Dusty to stay away. But Dusty didn't stay away because a few hours later, witnesses heard arguing coming from James's camp. When they checked, they saw Dusty on top of James, wrestling and yelling. It looked like a fight, nothing too serious. So they left. Hours passed, nobody heard from James, and that's when Jamie and Robert went looking for him and found the tarp. Police already know where Dusty lives. They had been there earlier about the machete incidents, so they surround the house and move in. Dusty comes out with his hands up, immediately launching into his defense.
Dude, the man just tried to light me on fire, dude. Y'all know what happened. That man tried to light me on fire, man. It's all on surveillance, dude.
Oh, so now he's the victim. Classic. Sure, Dusty, there is a surveillance footage of a homeless man attacking you in the middle of the woods. That definitely exists. Officers take him into custody without incident, and as they prepare for interrogation, they are already piecing together what's likely happened. Dusty, paranoid, violent, delusional, had been terrorizing the homeless community for who knows how long. When James didn't do what he wanted or said something Dusty didn't like, Dusty snapped. And because Dusty is clearly mentally unstable, he's going to claim self-defense. He's going to say James attacked him first. The question is, will it work? When detectives sit down with Dusty, they expect him to be defensive, maybe agitated, probably nervous. Instead, they get whatever this is.
Sir, I waved all right a long time ago. I still have a great sense of innocence within me if it ain't obvious to you. There's Bryson, and then he throws a gasoline on me because you saw how I was pulled up down there. Dude, I thought I was just going for the other. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was my intention. Everybody knows this. I didn't manage to hit that Neo UI, come out like that. I don't know how I do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. When I'm just experimenting in the house with blades, like before back when I took the butcher knives and threw a new curve to it. But, I don't know how I do it, sir. I just know with my beautiful mind that it's a three-way. Yeah. It's the photographic, the audiogenic intake, and then the living intake. Yeah.
Oh boy, here we go. Dusty genuinely believes he's some kind of enlightened being. He talks about being constantly watched and monitored. He rambles about photographic memory and audiogenic intake and being just like a god. Sure, Dusty, you're a god. That is why you're sitting in an interrogation room after torturing a homeless man to death. Throughout the interview, Dusty oscillates between claiming victimhood and bizarre philosophical ramblings. He seems to think he's there to provide intel as a witness, not as a suspect. And when detectives try to pin him down on what actually happened, he deflects with more nonsense. Innocence, that's what he calls it. He mentions James throwing gasoline on him, his justification for everything that's followed. But his story is incoherent, scattered, impossible to follow. At one point, he seems to confess without realizing it. His first murder, said almost casually, like he's talking about the first day at work. Oh wow. Detectives try to get clarity, but Dusty just keeps talking in circles. He's calm, relieved even, or like he thinks this is all going to blow over. And then he asks the question that shows just how detached from reality he really is.
Will I be able to go home?
I'm going to figure that out.
Yeah, because am I going to jail or we're going down to dance?
We're going to have to figure that kind of out because how this thing kind of goes from here.
I guess.
I'm going to come talk to you about it. Just okay?
Buddy, you tortured someone for hours and left him dead in the woods. Where exactly do you think you are going? As the investigation continues, the full horror of Dusty becomes clear. Based on witness statements and forensic evidence, here is what likely happened. Dusty had been harassing the homeless community for months. Using his grandfather's house as leverage, he would offer help, showers, laundry, a place to stay, but it always came with strings attached. Control, dominance, fear. James, for whatever reason, didn't play along. Maybe he talked back. Maybe he refused Dusty's help. Maybe he just existed in a way that offended Dusty's delusions of grandeur. So Dusty went after him. First, he attacked Rick with a machete, looking for James. When that didn't work, he went directly to James' camp. Witnesses heard arguing. They saw Dusty on top of James, but they thought it was just another fight in a community where fights happened all the time. What they didn't know was that Dusty wasn't stopping. For hours, Dusty tortured James. He beat him up with blunt objects. He strangled him. He poured gasoline on him and forced him to inhale it, to swallow it. James' face was destroyed. His ribs were broken. His skin was sloughing off from the gasoline burns. And when Dusty was finally done, he wrapped James in a tarp, stripped him naked, and started preparing to burn the body to destroy evidence. But he ran out of time, or maybe he got scared, or maybe in his fractured mind he thought he had already gotten away with it. So he left James there and went home. And when police came looking for him, he actually believed his self-defense story would work. The officer pathological reports confirmed what detectives already suspected. James Leaden died from a combination of blunt force trauma, strangulation, and gasoline exposure. His injuries were intensive. The medical examiner determined that James suffered for hours before finally dying. And Dusty, he thought he was smart, he thought he was untouchable, thought he was just like a god. Dusty McDonald was charged with first-degree murder. His defense tried to argue diminished capacity due to mental illness. And sure, Dusty is clearly unwell, schizophrenia, delusions, paranoia. But mental illness doesn't excuse torture. It doesn't excuse hours of brutality. It doesn't excuse taking someone's life and then calmly going home like nothing happened. As of this recording, Dusty's case is still working its way through the courts, but the evidence against him is overwhelming. James Leaden was a member of the homeless community. He didn't have much. He lived in the woods with friends, trying to get by day. He deserved dignity. He deserved safety. He deserved to live without fear of the man who claimed to be helping him. Instead, he spent his final hours being tortured by someone who genuinely believed he was above the law, above morality, above humanity itself. Dusty McDonald sits in jail now, probably still rambling about being an owl or convinced he's the victim of some grand conspiracy. But the truth is simpler than his delusions. He's just a violent, mentally ill man who murdered someone and thought he would get away with it. He didn't. Rest in peace, James. You deserved so much better than what this world gave you. And Dusty, enjoy yourself. You are not a god. You are not an owl. You are just a killer. And that is how you will ever be remembered as. If this story shocked you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into cases where justice prevails. Drop a comment below. What was the biggest red flag you noticed? See you in the next one.